Welcome to another episode of Wired for Wealth, guiding you to achieve lasting financial freedom and peace of mind. I'm your host, John MacGregor, your antidote to your financial struggles. Today I want to talk about the current state of the economy, what's happening with inflation, and my outlook for the future. And I will tell you, it's not pretty. In fact, this is much worse than I thought it was for my last economic update I gave. But before we dig in, don't forget to ring that bell below and subscribe. You do not want to miss further episodes because we're going to go deep on this topic of financial awareness and preparedness. And by the way, I'm preparing you. This is going to be a sobering episode. But let me be clear, I do not do these to scare you. That is not my intention at all. I do these to prepare you so that you're aware of what's coming down the pike. Because as I always say, what you are aware of, you can control and identify opportunities. But what you are not aware of will always control you. And sadly, too many people I've seen have their heads buried in the sand, hoping everything will work out in the end. But I will tell you, hope is not a strategy. Look, you may have already seen your 401k or your retirement accounts or other accounts take a strong hit to the value of your portfolio. And I'm afraid that's going to get worse. And for those of you who have a pension, or perhaps you're anticipating a pension payment when you retire, I'm really afraid that these pensions will be under intense pressure to be able to fulfill their promises in the future. So here's what's going on. Look, you all know we're dealing with significant inflation, right? Whether it's in the grocery store, the gas station, or any other product or service you purchase. Prices are out of control, and sadly, I don't think they're getting any better soon. In fact, I believe we're in the beginning of an extended inflationary period, and we're headed straight into the eye of a recessionary storm that's going to wreak havoc on this economy and impact so many people just trying to survive. The problem is that real solutions to this problem are not being accepted by this current administration. And look, I do not want to bring politics into this channel, but sometimes I have to, because I believe I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the policies or lack of policies that are creating this train wreck. And please don't take my word for this. For whatever I say, you really need to do your own homework in this case. The rhetoric out of the White House is that they're doing everything they can, and this inflation is only temporary or transitory, as they like to say, and a recession is not likely to happen, so they say. In fact, Biden has been recently quoted many times as saying that this is the best economy we've seen in 40 years. Yeah, that's right. He said many times recently, this is the best economy we've seen in 40 years. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, that just tells you how out of touch this administration is from reality. And the fact that he says that should be a huge wake-up call to you to realize that this problem is not going away anytime soon. Because the first step in solving a crisis is to admit that you actually have a crisis to begin with, right? But they refuse to do so. So recently, Biden wrote an op-ed defending all his policies, or defending the state of the current economy in the Wall Street Journal. And this is what he had to say. Number one, he said, "We have seen the fastest decline in unemployment on record." That's just a lie. Number two, he said, "Millions of Americans are getting jobs with better pay." Again, another lie. Number three, he said, "In January of 2021, when I took office, the recovery had stalled." Again, another lie. Number four, he said, "The price at the pump is elevated in large part because Russian oil, gas, and refining capacity are off the market." Again, another lie. And number five, he said, "Before the pandemic, the country was characterized by low growth, low wage gains, and an economy that worked best for the wealthiest Americans." I mean, it's just amazing that he says this stuff, because that, again, is just another lie. So when you hear these bald-faced lies from the President of the United States, who is unwilling to accept any blame and continue to claim that his policies are in our best interest, you better be very concerned about the future of this economy and this country, because these are not serious people. And the decisions they are making are so bad, you really have to question whether or not this is all intentional. Because I strongly believe they are intentionally creating this damage on purpose to squeeze us to the point that we all yell mercy. And now we're seeing a quarter of Americans will delay retirement because of all of this. Look, the way I see this, it's like a snowball going downhill. It's getting bigger and bigger and building steam until it crashes at the bottom. And right now, I think we're still near the top of that mountain, just gathering momentum. So, here's why I think things will get worse and why I think we are headed straight towards a major recession. Number one, interest rates will continue to rise and rise rapidly. Inflation is currently close to 9%, and yet our Fed funds rate is approximately 1.75%. And in order to tame inflation, that Fed fund rate will have to rise to a greater level than the current level of inflation. And the cascading effects, that will be devastating. I mean, just a few months ago, get this, a 30-year fixed rate mortgage was about 3%. Today it's 6%. In fact, it's over 6%. So that means on a $500,000 loan at 3%, you're paying approximately $2,100 a month for your mortgage payment. And over the life of that loan, you'd be paying $256,000 in total interest, just interest alone. Today, for that same loan at 6%, your monthly payment is now $3,000, $900 more per month. And over the life of this loan at 6%, you'd be paying $579,000 just in interest. That's a difference of $323,000 in additional interest on that loan. And mortgage rates will go higher, mark my words. So just think about that, a difference from 3% to 6% and what that does to the overall interest that you pay. It's really astounding. Now think if that mortgage rate goes to 7, 8, 9, 10%. You know, in the 70s, we saw mortgage rates in the 15, 18, 20% range. It's not unthinkable in today's environment. And think about the cascading effect that will have on so many people trying to buy a new home, right? Frankly, many won't be able to. And think of what that will do to so many other related industries and companies that support the housing industry, such as furniture stores, electronics stores, home improvement stores, etc. And we're just in the beginning of these rising rates. This will also impact your ability to finance a new car or the interest rate on your credit cards. It is absolutely devastating what this is going to do to everyone's lives in all aspects. All right, so number two, the Fed has now announced that they're going to move away from quantitative easing to quantitative tightening. Since 2008, the Fed, given the mortgage meltdown we saw, the Fed has implemented a policy called quantitative easing. Essentially, what they're doing is they're buying up bonds in the marketplace and flooding the economy with cash, hoping to stimulate current economic activity. The problem is they never stopped, and they kept feeding this economy with this highly addictive drug. And we're talking about trillions of dollars being flooded into the economy. And all this did was prop up assets and stock values artificially. The Fed, in essence, was artificially keeping interest rates extremely low, and this has led to a massive bubble, not only in the stock market, but also in the bond market as well. And now the Fed has announced quantitative tightening, which essentially means they're no longer offering this stimulus. And as a result, we're going to see this bubble burst. And I'm afraid there's no place to hide in this scenario. The stock market has already taken a major hit. As you know, you've seen your statements. The bond market has taken a major hit as well. Gold has taken a hit, and now cryptocurrency is collapsing. This environment of stagflation, where inflation is rising while economic growth is tumbling, is another reason why I think we're just in the beginning of this mess. And it could take a very, very long time for us to get out of it, particularly if we have the same useful idiots in charge of getting us out. All right, number three, the yield curve. All right, I know it sounds boring, but it's really important you understand this. The current yield curve in the bond market is basically flat and very close to being inverted. Essentially, an inverted yield curve means short-term yields in the bond market are higher than long-term yields in the bond market. And this is not normal. For example, it's like when you buy a CD at the bank, right? A short-term CD, let's say for 6 months will pay a lot less than a 5-year CD, right? That's a normal yield curve. But today that's not the case. What this means is, from an economic perspective, is an inverted yield curve suggests that near term is riskier than long term. And an inverted yield curve is one of the most reliable leading indicators of an impending recession. In fact, inverted yield curves has predicted the past 7 recessions. And we are right there, folks, very close. All right, number 4, layoffs. We're starting to see companies announce layoffs. Tech companies as big as Netflix have slashed jobs this year, and hundreds of other tech companies are slashing jobs as well. And with an impending recession, which is going to hurt companies all across the spectrum, I would anticipate more and more layoff announcements going forward. I mean, Peloton has already laid off thousands of employees this year. Carvana slashed their workforce by 12%. Coinbase and other cryptocurrency companies are slashing jobs as well. But to me, the biggest indicator of a looming crisis is Tesla. That's right, the electric vehicle company. In the first quarter of 2022, this year, just a few months ago, they recorded record revenue. That was up over 80% on a year-over-year basis. I mean, that is a huge quarter. Yet despite this amazing growth, get this, Tesla just announced they're slashing 10% of their workforce. I mean, that's a highly successful company slashing 10% of their workforce after a major blowout quarter. But think of all the other companies out there that aren't doing quite as well as Tesla, and how much bigger this layoff story could be going forward. Not even could be, I think will be. I mean, if that's not an indicator of what's to come, I don't know what is. And lastly, number 5, it's energy. Energy is the lifeblood of our economy, right? It impacts virtually everything we do and consume. Just 2 years ago, the United States was energy independent. But as soon as Biden and his useful idiots, and I use that term loosely, I don't use that term loosely, took over, they ended our energy independence overnight. By slamming the brakes on our own supply of the lifeblood of our economy, while emerging out of this COVID lockdown, all this pent-up demand, we now have entered this massive squeeze, which is driving fuel prices through the roof. And you all know it. And this will not stop. I strongly believe, call me crazy, that their goal is to get gas up to $10 a gallon. Because they don't care about you and me. I mean, let's face it. And let's make that perfectly clear. They care about one thing, and that's power and control over our lives. And they will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. They've done nothing to alleviate the pain at the pump and continue to double down on stupid. And as energy prices continue to rise, which they will, overall inflation will rise with it and exacerbate this problem way beyond what it already has. And I probably don't need to explain the compounding effect of the devastation that will cause on all of us. Look, there are so many other things, in my opinion, will turn south as well. I mean, when the US goes, so does the rest of the world, because the rest of the world relies on the US to be an economic juggernaut. Our rising dollar will have a devastating effect on our exports to other countries, and I'm also seeing a drop in people's savings rates, while a significant rise in consumer borrowing through credit cards. That's not good, folks. And right now, the ideas being floated by Biden to resolve this problem is to raise taxes and add more regulations. I mean, these are the two things that are causing this horror show right now, and that's what they want to do. This is insanity. People are struggling to pay for things, and they want to take more money away from us to solve this? I mean, this is why I strongly believe this has to be intentional, because you can't be this dumb. So look, based on all of this, I see the market continuing to drop, and I don't see any end in sight. So folks, I hate to say it, you've got to strap in, because this is going to be an ugly ride. But the more you're aware of this, the more you can do things now to prepare, so you're not just surviving, so you can actually put yourself in a position to thrive. That's why you're watching this. Despite all the craziness that's happening right now in this country and around the world, there are always things that you can be doing to generate cash flow, build wealth, and position yourself for success. Because in my experience, there's 2 types of people. Those who are dreamers and those who are doers. And it's always the doers who find a way to prosper. And I'm going to be addressing more about solutions of what you could be doing specifically going forward So don't forget to subscribe because you don't want to miss future episodes. And also, you definitely want to check out my new course called Thrive Path. It's the revolutionary solution to your financial freedom and peace of mind. It is really a game changer, especially in today's environment. And leave a comment because I'd love to hear what you're thinking or anything else you want to contribute. All right, so we'll see you next time. Take care, upward and onward. Bye-bye.